Okay, so welcome to the video titled Aircraft Weight and Balance. Solving aircraft weight and balance problems along with type certificate data sheet. The materials used in this presentation are courtesy of the National Aviation Academy of the Philippines and our instructor, Rodolfo H. Tupas III. Okay, so in this video, you will learn the step-by-step process on how to analyze, solve, and use the type certificate data sheet that comes with the aircraft. So, CAP released this Advisory Circular 02-018 where all maintenance technicians skill test standards na apply sa ating lahat students, and kasama doon sa mga subjects na kailangan pag-aralan is the weight and balance. So, here, ang highlighted that hopefully that we can discuss, kahit short discussion lang, is the definitions and the procedures regarding datum, arm, and moments, then the application of the mean aerodynamic chord or the Mach, more of it later. And then, ayun, so number 2, ang mahalaga is that we demonstrate the ability to calculate weight and balance, CG, and complete aircraft weight and balance documentation for level 3. And for an aircraft with a maximum takeoff gross weight of 5,600 kilograms, less than, and then more than 5,600 kilograms. And here's the rest of the documentation. Okay, so in this video, our objectives is to familiarize again with some of the terminologies, flow of solving for easy step-by-step process, and then solve the word problem given later while using the TCDS that comes with the aircraft. So, yung arm, ang unit nito is inches. Kapag positive yung arm, that is aft of datum. And pag negative, ito ay forward of datum. Then, moment can be solved using the weight times distance formula. And its unit is the inch pounds. Now, empty weight. Empty weight includes all operating equipment, hydraulic fluid, and residual fuel and oil. Now, fluids that are not part of empty weight are potable water, lavatory pre-charged water, and water for injection into the engines. And then useful load, it includes fuel and the fluids that are not part of empty weight, passengers, baggage, pilot, co-pilot, and crew members. Okay, here's Mach. Mach means mean aerodynamic chord. Is established by the manufacturer, defining its leading edge or lemach and trailing edge temach in terms of inches from the datum. So, lemach meaning leading edge of mean aerodynamic chord, and then temach, trailing edge of mean aerodynamic chord. This can all be seen later sa example and mas maintindihan nyo sila. Okay, here are the formulas for our solving. So, the formula in getting the EWCG or empty weight center of gravity. So, we have 4 formulas. We have the formula 1 and 2 for the nose wheel aircrafts, and then the formula 3 and 4 for the tail wheel aircrafts. So, puro letters lang. So, we need to expound them. Okay, so CG means center of gravity. Okay, then the D. Ano yung D? D is the distance from the datum to the main landing gear in inches. And then F, or what I could think of is F front. So, mas madali siyang isipin kasi front, so nose wheel aircrafts. Yun yung F is the weight of the nose wheel in pounds. And then R naman kapag rear or sa tail wheel aircrafts, rear. Weight of the tail wheel in pounds also. And L naman is the distance from the main landing gear to nose wheel or tail wheel. It depende sa formula na gagamitin nyo. For example, sa Formula 1, since we're gonna use Formula 1, so yung L natin is the distance from the main landing gear to nose wheel. Okay, and then W is the total weight of the aircraft. Next formula, so we have the magic triangle of the moment, arm, and weight. So this is pretty simple. To get moment, you have to multiply weight and arm, and to get arm, you need to divide moment and weight. Now, to get the loaded CG means it includes all of the operating equipments, payload, useful load, na kasama sa word problem natin. So, to get loaded CG, you need the summation of moment and then summation of weight. And yung equals nun is in inches, and that is your loaded CG that we will use further in the solving process. Okay, here, percentage Mach and CG formulas. So, here naman, for percent of Mach is equals to CG minus lemach divided by Mach times 100. Itong mga terms na to, lahat to makikita later sa TCDS. So, medyo papayawan lang natin since medyo mahirap siyang intindihan. Knowing na mas madali siya on actual solving process compared to uh, discussing the formula itself. Pero yun, Mach is the mean aerodynamic chord. Then may percentage din to. Percent Mach and CG are somehow similar because they have range. Parang there is a certain range or limit lang na nakalagay sa ating type certificate data sheet na dapat nating sundin. And both limits naman, it will help us kung paano natin isosolve yung certain problems na yun. Both CG, Lemach, and Mach are all present given sa ating solving process. Ang we will use percent of Mach because we will need to check if pasok siya sa limit ni percent Mach na nakalagay sa TCDS. If not, then we will proceed with the derived formula. Etong CG equals Lemach plus open parenthesis percentage Mach over 100 times Mach. Okay, so if either one of loaded CG and percent of Mach value is not within limits, we will need to use this second formula. Now, dito tayo medyo mag-iiba. Since sa CG formula na derived from Mach, yung given na percentage Mach, yung given dito na percentage Mach, si solver yung mag-iisip. So meaning, ikaw yung mag-iisip kung anong value ilalagay mo knowing na it is within range. Okay, guys? So, it is within range. Dapat yung ilalagay nating value doon. So, next is the example. Okay. So, we have here an example TCDS. Let's first look at the CG range. So, ito, pinalakihan na. So, CG range. So, itong whole number na to, that's the CG. CG range yan na. Ito. From 308, 313.4, and 324.4, that's the CG range. Nag-iiba lang siya because merong certain values na kailangan mo na maabot. Like, kunwari, for below 4,000 pounds, nag-start yung limit ng 308 inches. Pero kapag above 40,000 pounds, above all weights below 40,000 pounds, 308 inches nag-start. Pero kapag above 40,000 pounds, all weights all weights below 40,000 pounds starts with 308 inches. Pero kapag above, that's 313.4 inches. And then pag rearward naman, that's 324.4 inches. Now, ito yung sinasabi nating Mach. So, talagang naka-indicate na po si percentage Mach sa ating TCDS. And, hindi na kayo mahirapan mag-solve. Since you just really need to find it. Kasi medyo mahabang document ang TCDS. And then, here naman tayo sa baba, before we proceed sa example, here naman sa baba, then i-zoom in natin, we have here the datum, the Mach, and the 11 means. Pero dito muna tayo sa datum and Mach. So, si datum, it indicates nasa nose of fuselage. So, later magamit natin yan sa solving process. And then, si Mach, here, kakasabi ko lang, Mach is also given. So, the Mach is 164.25 inches. And, nasan si Lemach? So, dito papasok si Lemach. LE of Mach at station 275.61. Meaning, our Lemach is 275.61 and our Mach na given is 164.25 inches. So, talagang hindi natin mahirapan mag-solve kasi nasa TCDS na lahat na kailangan natin i-solve. Okay. So, example muna tayo sa percent of Mach. So, earlier, we were given the formula for percent of Mach. Ngayon, i-apply natin. So, our formula is CG or loaded CG minus Lemach. So, ano ba Lemach natin? 275.61. So, lagyan natin doon. Divided by Mach. What's our Mach? That's 164.25 inches. Then, times 100. Then, we solve. Okay? So, ganun ka-easy. Ayun, so, percent of Mach. If within limits, then we can accomplish the checking. If not, we move to CG derived formula. So, here is the derived formula for the CG. Okay, so same ulit. We have the Lemach and then Mach. So, Lemach again, 275.61. And then Mach is 164.25. Percent Mach equals, think of a value that is within range given by the TCDS. Okay, so for example, since our range is between 19.7 and 19.7 and 29.7%. So, for example, in this case, sige, I will solve this formula using 20%. Ayun, that's all right. Pero kung that's outside limits, parang that's wrong. Naka-indicate na sa TCDS, so bakit pa nating i-try knowing na there's a certain range lang. Okay, guys? So, again, if mag input tayo ng percentage mark, laging tignan ng ating limits. Dapat within limits lang siya. Next, weight shifting formula. Ang weight shifting formula natin is includes small w divided by big W equals delta CG and then D. So, W is the weight to be shifted or yung weight na iurong natin para makapasok sa CG range yung aircraft natin. W is a total loaded weight of an aircraft. And then change in CG. This is the loaded CG that we will compute later on and then the Mach derived CG. So, kaya natin tong kinuha or dinerive kasi dito natin isa-subtract si loaded CG para makuha natin yung delta CG for our weight shifting formula. And then D is equals to distance to be moved of the weight shifted. For this, later we will also check the TCDS kung saan natin pwedeng iusog si weight or yung weight na mapipili nating iusog. Okay, here is like the big breakdown of our solving process. Okay, so step 1, analyze which formula we will be using and solve for the empty weight center of gravity. 2, solve for the loaded CG using table method, then check if within limits. If it's within limits or not, continue with percent Mach for final checking. Then 3, solve percent Mach, then check if within limits. If both loaded CG and Mach is within limits, then proceed with final CG. If either one is not within limits, you will proceed with derived CG formula from Mach. So, balik tayo dito. We will only use CG formula na derived from percentage Mach if si percent of Mach and si loaded CG is not within limits. Kapag hindi pumasok dito sa limits na to, yung sagot natin for percent of Mach and CG, we will use the derived formula of percent Mach to get the CG. Okay, guys? And then, number 4, use derived percent Mach formula to get CG. Nandun na tayo. And then, step 5, solve for weight shifting to get the weight to be shifted and distance to be moved. And then 6, rechecking using table method to be shown later. Yes. And 7, answer for final CG, weight, and the distance to be moved. Si 6 tsaka si number 2, they're both, tama ba? Yes, they're both similar. Si 6 and 2, they're both very similar. So, medyo madali siyang i-discuss. Now, here's like a much more summary. So, to solve empty weight CG, we will use formula 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on the word problem. And then loaded CG, we have the moment, weight, and arm. And then the summation of moment and weight to get loaded CG, center of gravity. And then percent of Mach, the formula, CG from the derived percent of Mach, weight shifting, and then the final answer, final CG, weight, and then distance to move. Okay, so for solving time, for this instance, we will use the midpoint for uniform solving and for simplicity. So midpoint is equals value 1 plus value 2 divided by 2. And for our word problem later on, we will be using TCDS number 2A5 and kindly screenshot na lang para yung solving natin ay tuloy-tuloy since we will be utilizing this whole paper documentation. Okay, for our word problem, Captain Rabi and First Officer Rodolfo are preparing their aircraft for a direct flight from Ninoy Aquino International Airport to San Francisco International Airport. During the pre-flight preparation, the aircraft is weighed with full operating fluids and unusable fuel. The nose gear scale reading shows 9,200 pounds at 90 inches, while the combined main gear scale reading shows 26,800 pounds at 320 inches. The aircraft will be operated with the minimum required crew consisting of a pilot and a co-pilot with a combined weight of 360 pounds. Fuel on board is distributed among 3 tanks. The forward tanks contain 300 gallons, the center tanks contain 400 gallons, and the rear tanks contain 200 gallons. The fuel used by the aircraft weighs 6 pounds per gallon. In addition to the fuel, the aircraft carries 60 gallons of oil, and oil weighs 7.5 pounds per gallon. Cargo is also loaded into several compartments of the aircraft. Compartment C contains 3,000 pounds of cargo. Compartment F contains 3,500 pounds, and compartment H contains 4,000 pounds. For the purpose of determining the arm for each cargo load, the midpoint of each compartment's arm range will be used. Okay, so for the solving na tayo. Okay, so sa word problem naka-indicate na the nose gear scales reading shows 9,200 pounds. So lagay natin. 'Di ba ang F natin is yun yung weight ng nose wheel. So that's going to be 9,200 pounds. And then, while the combined main gear scale reading shows 26,800 pounds. So, yun yung lalagyan natin sa weight. So, again, weight ni nose gear plus yung reading sa scale ni main landing gear, which is 26,800 pounds. Okay. Ayan. So, let's add them. 9,200 plus 26,800. It's going to be 36,800 pounds. Okay guys, wag kakalimutan ang unit. Again, so F is for the weight ng nose landing gear, and then W is the combined weight ng nose landing gear tsaka ng main landing gear. And then for L, ang L natin is the distance between the main landing gear and the nose wheel. So, sa ating TCDS nakalagay dito na ang datum ay nakalagay sa nose of fuselage. Dito natin makikita sa gilid. Ayan, datum, nose of fuselage, station 0. So, if we're gonna look it from a visual perspective, so drawing tayo ng aircraft, this is an example aircraft lang. So, nandito daw si datum, nasa nose of the aircraft. And then, so meron tayong nose landing gear and then the main landing gear. So, ang sinasabi sa during weighing daw, 90 inches from the datum si nose landing gear. So, yung distance niya from here, from datum to nose landing gear is 90. And then, from main landing gear, from the datum, so that is 320 inches. Now, para makuha yung distance ni main landing gear at ni nose landing gear, we will subtract 320 kay 90. Okay, so let's do that. So, 320 minus 90 is going to be 230 inches. Ayan. So, ngayon, meron tayong value dito na that is 230 na distance between the main landing gear and the nose landing gear. And now, for the final nakulang natin is the D, or yung from main landing gear to datum. So, D will equals to 320 kasi ayun na yung value ni main landing gear from the datum as from the visual representation natin. Okay, so anong formula yung gagamitin natin? So, basing from the description of the Formula 1 and 2, we will use the Formula 1. Bakit? Because it indicates that with the datum forward of the main wheels. Hindi naman nakalagay yung datum sa likod. So, forward tayo. So, we will use formula number 1. Okay, so I'll just rewrite formula number 1. So, that's going to be CG equals, so D, ano ba yung D natin? 320 inches. Minus open parenthesis, yung F. F natin ay 9,200 pounds, sorry. And then yung L natin is 230 inches. And then the total weight natin ay ang 36,000 pounds. Okay, so pounds din to. Okay, so ilagay na natin to sa calculator. So 320 minus open parenthesis fraction 9,200 times 230 sa upper part. And then sa ilalim naman is at 36,000 pounds. So equals, we will get the value of 261.22 bar. Kasi puro siya 2, di ba? So we'll put the bar na lang para hindi natin kailangan isulat lahat. But for a convenient way, if your calculator has a store function, so we will use that. So for the calculator, habang naka-display pa yung answer, what you're going to do is hit the shift, then find yung STO. Yung STO. Yan, STO. It means store. Tapos, di ba, shift, store, then pili kay letter A. Then pick a letter. For this instance, we're gonna use letter A. And then hit enter. Ngayon, for future computations, si value ni A is magiging 261.222 bars inches. So check na natin. To check is alpha A, hit alpha sa cycle nyo, and then hit letter A, then enter. So letter, then enter. Doon nyo makikita yung value na nakalagay sa letter natin. Okay, so enough sa Caltech. So ang nakuha natin from the empty weight center of gravity is si 261.222 bar. Okay, so proceed na tayo sa ating next step, which is the loaded CG naman. Okay guys, so we are now done with the step 1 na alamin natin yung ating empty weight center of gravity. Now, we will proceed sa table. Okay, so from our previous solving, alam natin yung weight ng ating empty weight aircraft. So that will be 36,000. And then, yung arm niya is nakastore sa letter A. Now, proceed naman tayo sa weight ni pilot and co-pilot. So, based sa ating word problem, that the pilot and co-pilot has a combined weight of 360 pounds. Okay, so let's put that there. Next, fuel tanks naman. So, base sa ating word problem, we have, sa forward tank, we have 300 gallons. Sa center tank, 400 gallons. And then sa rear tank, 200 gallons. The fuel used by the aircraft weighs 6 pounds per gallon. Now, to get the total amount, we need to multiply the gallons in the forward tank and center tank and rear tank separately doon sa unit amount na 6 pounds per gallon. So, paano yun? Okay, so let's start with forward tanks. So, sa forward tank, we have 300 gallons multiplied by 6 pounds. So, we have 1,800. Next naman, pag sa center tanks, we have naman 2,400. And kapag sa rear tanks naman, we have 1,200. And next is oil. Now, in addition to the fuel, the aircraft carries 60 gallons of oil. And the oil weighs 7.5 pounds per gallon. Okay, same ulit. We will multiply the unit of 7.5 pounds per gallon doon sa ikinargang 60 gallons. So, input to your cycles, 60 times 7.5, and we will have 450. Now, sa cargo naman, based sa ating problem, we have that compartment C contains 3,000 pounds. 3,000 pounds. Compartment F has 3,500. And then compartment H has 4,000. 4,000 pounds. Now, let's total the weight. Then we will have 52,710. Let's move sa arm. So, dito tayo magbabase sa ating TCDS. Nakasama sa ating word problem. Okay, so start tayo sa pilot and copilot. Base sa ating type certificate data sheet, let's look for the info regarding sa copilot and copilot. So, we have here, minimum crew. We have 2, pilot, and then copilot. So, dalawa sila. So, ang arm nila is 80 parehas. So, we'll put that there. 80 guys, hawag i-add. 80. Okay, so tapos na tayo kay pilot and co-pilot. Next, let's move to the forward fuel tanks, center tanks, and rear tanks. So punta tayo sa info naman regarding sa fuel capacity. Okay, here we have the highlight fuel capacity, and then tingin tayo sa each tank natin. So, okay, so sa forward tanks, meron tayong arm na 304, center tanks we have 340, and then rear tanks na 374. Okay, so let's put that there. So forward tanks, we have 304. Sa center tanks, we have 340. And then sa rear tanks, we have 374. Next, oil. Now, okay, so zoom out tayo. Check naman natin sa oil capacity. So, ayun. We have here oil capacity. Yan, so ang oil capacity niya is 67.6 gallons usable and 33.8 usable each tank. And then yung R niya is 253. So let's put that to our table, 253. Next, compartment C, or ang ating cargo. So let's look sa ating mga cargo kung may ba tayong info. And here we have under na maximum baggage, we have here the compartments. And sa ating given, we have compartment C, F, and H. Ngayon, nasa yung mga R nila? Ito yung mga R nila guys. 1924, 2276 kay compartment C. Kay F naman, 358 to 440. And then H naman, 442, 542.5. Sila ay naka-range. Ngayon, for the simplicity, we will use their midpoint. So, paano yung midpoint? We will add two numbers. Start tayo kay compartment C. 194 plus 276. Then, divided by 2. Then, we have 235. So, base doon sa range na ibinigay nila, the midpoint is 235. Okay, so likewise din sa ating the rest of our compartments, the midpoint for compartment F is 399. And then for compartment H naman, 491.25. Okay guys, sa arm naman, we don't need to total that kasi wala naman siyang use. So it's basically a waste of time if we're gonna sum that up. So move tayo kay moment. Now we're gonna multiply the weight kay arm to get the moment for each unit. Okay, so again, 36,000 times the stored value. We have 9,404,000. Okay, wait lang. Let me move this out of the way para tayo ay makapag-solve ng maigi. Okay? Yan. Alright, kay co-pilot and pilot naman, we have 28,000. Sa fuel forward tanks, we have 5, 4, 7, 200. Compartment H, we have 1, 9, 6, 5. Alright, so now we will sum this up and we will have an answer of 15 million 425 and 150. And walang decimal. Sarado. Okay, now to get a loaded CG, we have the formula of, okay, so loaded. Summation of moment over summation of weight. Now, let's put that into practice naman. So, 15, 4, 2, 5, 150 over 52, 7, 10. 292.6418137 inches. Store sa letter B. So, again, shift store B. Now, kapag hinanap ang ating final answer for the loaded CG, so we will utilize 2 decimal places. So, that will be 292.64 inches. So, this will be our loaded CG. Alright guys, so now we're here for the step 3 naman. For the percentage Mach formula. Ngayon, we computed the loaded CG and our answer is 292.64. Now, let's check our TCDS kung pasok ba siya. Since our weight is 52,710, we will follow this limit. Since above 40,000 pounds, so our CG limit is starting sa 313.4 up to 324. So, pasok ba siya? Hindi. Since naglalak siya sa ating forward limit. Now, we will do a percentage Mach check. So, paano yun? So, we will input our loaded CG sa ating formula. So, let's go. Okay. So, ang ating loaded CG is nakastore sa ating B. So, let's indicate it there. Now, sa lemmac. Okay, now let's look at our TCDS sheet. Now, let's go sa lower part and we will see here Mach. Now, it says here our Mach is 164.25 inches and our layoff Mach is 275.61. So, let's put that in here. So, our Mach is 275.61 divided by Mach of 164.25. Okay, so again. Our Mach, based on the TCDS sheet, we have a Mach of 164.25 inches. Now, our layoff Mach, so let's change dito para ma-indicate natin. So, our layoff Mach is going to be 275.61. So, that is gonna be our Mach in this formula. So, again, so continue lang tayo sa formula times 100. Now, let us solve. So, our percentage Mach answer is 10.36944,517%. Now, upon checking sa ating TCDS, pasok ba si ating percentage Mach upon checking? Okay, so let us see. So, balik tayo sa ating CG range. So, tingin tayo kay B at saka sa ating percentage Mach. Rearward and forward. Alright. So, sa rearward, meron tayong limit na 29.7% Mach. And then sa forward, we have a limit of 23% Mach. Ngayon, pasok ba siya sa limit? Hindi. So, now, we are going to try another formula para we will try to solve the CG, yung pasok naman siya. Okay? Okay, so let's put it into practice. So, our next step is naman the CG formula derived from the percentage Mach. Okay, now, ang tanong dito is, bakit natin kailangan mag-isip ng bagong number or value for the percentage Mach? Because, if ginamit natin si 10.3, ang sagot natin is hindi siya ipapasok. Okay, so let's try Okay, let's try to prove kung hindi pa siya pasok. Okay, so let's try. So, ang ating lemmac is Para maintindihan lang natin. Okay, so let's put 10.37 for simplicity na lang. Times Mach na 164.25. Yung sagot natin sa loaded CG is the same kung gagamitin natin itong 10%. Kung if we're gonna use this 10% sa ating CG formula na derive, it's gonna be pointless because ang sagot na lalabas dyan, as you can see, is yung loaded CG. Okay? So, kaya ang gagawin natin ngayon is we're gonna look for a value na ipapalit natin sa value ng percentage Mach that is within limits ng ating TCDS sheet here, and then hoping na yung inilagay na nating value will respond sa ating CG value na pasok din sa ating TCDS sheet for the CG range. Okay, so let's put it into practice. Okay, so equals lemmac. So our lemmac is 275.61 plus... For this instance, we're gonna use 23. So naisipan ko gamitin si 23%. Una, I'm gonna think na okay, so sa 23 is pasok sa limit or sa range because our limit is starting sa 23% Mach up to 29.7% Mach. And guys, this comes with also with a trial and error. So talagang if hindi pa rin pasok si CG, you guys are gonna get a higher Mach. Or siguro kahit mag-move ko lang ng 1% higher, then trial again. But for this instance, we're gonna use 23% Mach because we are hoping na yung ang ating CG na sagot is pasok sa limits. So let's put 23% over 100 times 164.25. So our answer is gonna be 313.3875 or if na-round up natin magiging 313.39. Now, etong value ni CG na hindi pa round off, we're gonna store this sa letter C. Store sa letter C. So, shift store C. Ayan. Ngayon, our final answer for our CG that is in inches is gonna be 313.39. Okay? Again, so repeat lang natin. If we're gonna use a 10% from the first formula na loaded CG, hindi rin pasok yung limit na lalabas sa ating CG. Because 10% is not within the limits. So if we will use it sa CG, hindi rin siya pasok sa limits. But for this instance, since we use 23%, so check siya kasi pasok sa ating limits na 23% Mach up to 39.7%. And this will allow us to have a computed it will allow us to have a new computed CG that is also within limits. So as you can see, nag-reflect naman that adjusting it from 10.37, ang sagot natin sa una is 29.64. Hindi pasok sa limit parehas. Now, we adjusted our percentage Mach to 23%. And nag-reflect siya, pasok siya sa ating limit. Okay, so we are now done with our percentage Mach and then the CG derived from the percentage Mach formula. Now, we will move to weight shifting. Alright? So, now let's plot muna ang ating mga given para mas madali tayong makapag-solve. So, we have the weight to be shifted, then we have the total weight, then we have the change in CG, and then we have the distance. Alright? So, weight to be shifted. Now, ito yung ating isa-solve. We need to answer how much yung i-move natin from a certain compartment to another, and then our total weight. So, guys, the total weight is always given. So, our total weight is going to be 52,710. Again, our total weight is 52,710 pounds. Next, our change in CG. Now, guys, wag tayong malilito because we're gonna subtract the answer from the CG derived formula from the percentage mark and the loaded CG. Okay? And do remember that our 3.3.375 is nakastored sa ating C. And our loaded CG is nakastore sa ating letter B. But don't worry, if-flash natin yan para wag kayo malito. So right now, we're gonna subtract para we can get the change in CG. Now, guys, change in CG. Always do remember na bigger number must be subtracted by the smaller number para hindi lumabas yung negative. Since change in CG, we need to find lang naman kung gaano kalaki yung pinagbago. And para mapadali yung solving natin, syempre mas preferred natin yung walang negative sign. And it is much better that way. So right now, we're gonna do change in CG equals alpha C minus alpha B. Now that will give us 20.7456863. Now guys, let's store this to letter D. That is in inches. Okay, so nakastore na siya sa letter D, ang ating change in CG. Now guys, saan natin ililipat yung ating load? Okay, so let's see. Mamimili lang naman tayo guys. It's a trial and error somehow. Bago kayo mag-isip ko sa i-move, check mo tayo sa TCDS. Okay, so sa base dito sa ating TCDS, ating mga compartments, we have compartment C, F, and then CH. So sa compartment C, ang load niya is 3,000 pounds. Ang capacity niya is 4,100 pounds. Si F naman, 3,500 yung loaded na weight, and then 4,500 naman yung pounds na maximum capacity. And then sa H naman ay 4,000 pounds, and ang capacity niya is 5,200 pounds. Ngayon, since nagkulang tayo sa forward limit, let's move some of the cargo or yung load sa rearward para mag-shift yung ating CG palikod. And for that instance, this will allow na yung CG natin na makapasok sa ating CG limit. Okay, so let's prove that. Ano bang pwedeng ilipatan? Let's try compartment J. Compartment J has a 2,800 pounds capacity and the station 615 to 704. Again guys, let's do midpoint for easy solving. Alright? 615 plus 704 divided by 2 equals, that will give us 65 9.5 inches. Alright? Now, we have 659.5 inches and our midpoint sa C. Ano bang ating midpoint sa C? Our midpoint sa compartment C is 235. Now, we will subtract the midpoint from compartment J and compartment C para we will see how much distance needs to be moved. Alright? Kung gaano kalayo yung ililipat natin, yung distansya nun from compartment C to compartment J, the distance. Okay? So, 659.5 minus 235. Now, that will give us 424.5 inches. Alright, so now, meron tayong value ng total weight, change in CG, and then the distance. Now, let us compute. Our formula, we have weight to be shifted, total weight equals change in CG, and then the distance. So, kailangan natin ma-isolate si weight. So, let us cross-multiply. Cross-multiply, parang may iwan ay si small w equals change in CG times big W, and then we need to isolate the weight, so W is equals to change in CG multiplied by the total weight divided by the distance. Alright, so we are now gonna input our values. So change in CG is gonna be letter D, times total weight, that's going to be 52,710 pounds, divided by D, that is going to be 424.5. So our answer is going to be 2,575.983804 Alright, and do remember na naka-inch to. So magka-cancel out yan, guys. Cancel. And ang matitira is si pounds. And we have here pounds. Ito ang ating weight na ililipat para pasok ang ating CG. But in final answer, we have 2,575.98 pounds. Alright? This is our final answer for the weight to be shifted. Now, let's check na kung pasok sa compartment J yung ating ililipat na cargo. Okay, tingin tayo sa ating TCDS. Tingin tayo, zoom kay J. Compartment J. Ang capacity niya ay 280,000 pounds, 2,800 pounds. And ang sagot natin sa computation ay 2,575.98. So, pasok ba guys? Yes, pasok ang ating cargo load na ililipat sa cargo J. So, that means correct ang ating computation. And this is allowable na gawin. Do double checking where we will compute for the moment again of our loaded CG and yung pinagbago ng ating mga values. Alright? So, first, we must subtract yung value ni compartment C since siya lang naman yung nagbago. Alright? So, let us first subtract yung values. Kahit wag na yung arm kasi hindi naman natin nagalaw yung summation. No? Okay? So, you must subtract muna. 5, 7, 10. This will give us... Alright guys, take note. Here in the double checking process, I'm just breaking it down for you para ma-visualize natin kung paano ba yung computation. But, in this process, in the weight double checking, yung total weight natin, hindi siya magbabago. Since, yung weight natin hindi nagbago dahil yung kalahati lang nun or yung some parts lang nun ay nausog. Meaning, buo pa rin yun na 3,000, alright? For this instance, pinapakita ko lang para lang ma-visualize natin. So, naman sa moment, we have 147,201,50. Go back sa ating weight shifted. So, our weight shifted is ito, yung mayroong decimal, para talagang accurate. We're gonna use na yung hindi na round up. Okay, from the original weight na 3,000 minus, it's gonna be 2,575.983,804 pounds. Tama ba? Same ba? Alright, so we will now subtract that. To keep in mind, yung value na ito yung nasa compartment J. Ito kasi nasa C. Diba, like, yung sum of the weight napunta na sa J. So, we need to subtract para malaman natin kung ano yung natira sa compartment C. So, ang natira ay 424.016196. Alright, so we will now add this to our table. So, si compartment C, ito na yung value ni C ngayon. So, si compartment C, that will be 424.016196. And kay compartment J, we have 2,575.983,804. Wait, move lang natin ito. Para hindi tayo maguluhan. Ayan. Now, yung arm nila, si compartment C, same arm pa rin. 235. And si arm naman ni compartment J is 659.5. The midpoint pa rin. So, we will now multiply. This will give us 99,643.80606. Let's double check. 424.016196 times 25. 99643.806 alright. And then 2575.983804. This will give us 16988 So again, i-add natin yung total moment and total weight for our preparation sa loaded CG. So 14,720,150 99643.80606 plus 169,886.151. We have 16 51 8655.13. And then for our total weight, so see guys, wala siyang pinagbago kapag weight. We just did this para ma-visualize natin. So now we're gonna solve for the loaded CG. Again, the loaded CG is equals to the summation of moment to summation of weight. Alright, so again, so let's copy. Over 52,710. 313.3875001, which is equivalent to 313.39 inches. And ito yung lumabas sa ating na-computed nung ginawa nating 23%. Here, ito, 23%. Ang ating percentage mark. Naging 313.39 din yung ating center of gravity or yung CG. So, this means na tama ang ating ginawa and pasok. So, again, so we will now move to finalization of answers. So, our final CG is going to be 313.39 inches. Our weight to be shifted, 98 pounds. And then our distance is alright guys, so this is now our final answer. Okay, now let's cross check sa ating TCDS. So again, pasok ba ang ating CG na 313.39? Above tayo, di ba? Above 4,000 pounds. Pasok ba siya? Yes. Pasok siya, guys. So this means tama ang ating computation.